signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, Radford pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as the valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark.
Hey, it's Thursday. See, because I have a graphic up that says Thursday. Hope you're well wherever you might be. Hey. Hit us up wherever you might be. McClellan Chiropractic chat room on the BDST text line, brought to you by Professional Door Incorporated. Here from our Family Fencing Studios. Call them for a quote today. Free quote. We're busy today. We got the Radford Hall of Famer, our NFL correspondent David Smith, Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. Break down what he thinks so far of Virginia Tech's practices. Scrimmage tomorrow. Alex Guerra, Radford baseball. Big series starting tonight. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. USC Upstate in town. And then Dwight Vick. We've got an interesting, I think we're going to have a really, we always do with Dwight, but I think he wants to talk a little bit about what's going on with his son and something that happened yesterday, which is another element of this whole 2026 college athletics reality that's not good. Please subscribe, like, and share the channel wherever you might be. But we got a lot going on today, which is always the case. It's been a busy week. All right, there we go. Had to finish up. So join us in chat. Join us whatever might be on your mind. Campbell head coach John, I'll mispronounce his name because I've never seen it or heard it. Andrzejczyk. I'm not sure how you say it. Andrzejczyk. We're going to go with that. Andrzejczyk. The Campbell head coach left after 1 year. yesterday. And this is a new twist on all this that we have going on. He's leaving to go become the associate head coach at Louisville. But he says this in his statement goodbye. He says, over the last 6 months, it has become clear that Campbell has made the decision to shift their commitment from basketball. Simply put, the institution now has different priorities, and they are not compatible with putting the kind of team on the floor that you deserve. As difficult as this is, I respect the decision and understand it as understand it as one that the university feels it must make in our unprecedented times in higher education. Despite months of intense work and collaboration with the athletic director and our terrific administration and several creative options that were proposed and thoroughly explored, there are no pathways that the institution will support to fund the basketball program appropriately moving forward. So he's leaving the head coaching job at Campbell to go be the associate head coach at Louisville. Wow. Never have seen that before. Will there be more of this? I don't know. This has kind of rocked the foundation of a lot of things going on. A lot of people are talking about this. Talk about coaches being able to freely move. And this affects Dwight, and we'll let him talk about it. But this is very interesting. I'm looking forward to getting into that. Maybe David and I will get into that too. So you have a coach who's basically saying he went to his school and said, we need X amount of dollars to compete, to go out and just to say what it is, to buy some kids. It's pay for play. It's so tiresome to see people continue to just be lazy and call it NIL. It's not NIL. Stop. This is pay for play. This is purchasing players to come play basketball for your school. That's all this is. So this guy is saying that, hey, I was here 1 year. They won 16 games? I don't know what they were, 16 and 18. But I'm going to go be the associate head coach for Pat Kelsey at Louisville, be part of a P4 staff, make more money, and I don't have to worry about going out and raising money. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's a different twist, I'll tell you that. A different twist. So how much longer can this go on? How much longer can we how is college athletics even functioning at this point? It boggles my mind that we have something that is obviously so financially viable and such a major part of the economy, of a recreational choice by fans, many of you, higher education. And we have no one that they'll say and they'll complain about it and they'll point out things that are just completely troubling like this. And then I saw the NCAA is trying to institute some kind of limit in the portal yesterday and all this. And you just scoff because one of the proposals doesn't change much at all. And if one does go through all of a sudden to kind of limit movement, there's going to be massive lawsuits. And then the NCAA is going to lose in court. And whenever I see all this speculation and whenever I see the NCAA try to implement anything, it always comes back to that's not going to hold up. So who is left in the current environment? Who is out there that can actually come in and create change? And this is why now I've gone 180 twice on all this. At one point, I thought we would have another year of this and it would all kind of start to come into clear focus and we'd be able to wrap our arms around it and maybe get some change. But now I'm thinking this is just going to be a repetitive cycle year in and year out. The haves and the have-nots will continue to exist, and we're not going to have any change probably until the breakaway comes, led by the SEC and the Big Ten from the NCAA. I believe that's where all of this is heading. Because do you trust anyone that's going to do it. This is all about people that have their own interest at heart, and they're not worried about anything else. I mean, this guy Campbell, he made promises. He made promises to these players. He made promises to the school. I don't know what went on between him and the administration and the AD. And I don't know what happened there. I find it hard to believe. The first thing when I read that, I know a lot of people at Campbell because they were in the Big South. I know they've regretted leaving. They put everything into football, and maybe that's what they're doing here. But I know how much they cherish their basketball program, and this guy saying that, hey, they told him, no, you're not getting any money, apparently. I don't know what's true and what's fiction there. Knowing the people that I do down there, I find that difficult to believe. When they were in the league, they had the best arena in the league, the Gore Arena. We had a tournament down there. Beautiful facility. Put a lot of money into that. They redid the locker rooms. They redid they had a basketball training complex. So I don't believe any way, shape, and form that all of a sudden they're just stopping funding basketball. But who knows? I don't know if there were maybe funds that were promised that were pulled away. But now we see a coach leaving because his institution can't compete in his explanation on the pay-for-play day-to-day scale. So this is new. We've seen some mid-major coaches leave jobs. There's been 4 or 5 of them have left jobs this year to go take assistant jobs at power leagues. So this isn't necessarily brand new. But it's interesting, and it just adds another twist. And maybe David and I will get into this some too. I'd like to get his take. Not much NFL stuff to talk about, so we can kind of wrap our arms around this stuff. That's a good question, Vic. Good question. Could be. Coaches do it all the time. Tommy Lloyd, he's asking the Arizona head coach. He's getting ready to take his team in the Final Four. Is he just being coy about his future to get a huge contract extension? Absolutely, that could be the case. I do believe North Carolina has contacted his agent. I do believe he wants to talk to North Carolina because it's North Carolina. So I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's something there with Lloyd and Carolina. Carolina has laid low, and David's a big Carolina guy, so we can ask David too. We got a lot we can talk about with David Smith always. So, yeah, I do believe that there's probably part of that. You're exactly right. What's up, T-Bird? Sounds like a coach, quotes, who's in it only for his personal win-loss record, not for the kids. I think what it comes across to me as is Pat Kelsey's known him a long time. Hey, come be the associate head coach. You don't have to worry about all that. You're going to make 7 figures here. Be my guy. We've got money. You can recruit. And now you don't have to worry about it. Talk to your wife. That's what it comes across to me as. Because you get a head coaching job, you work to be a head coach, and then you just walk away. And you're putting it all on your school. I mean, he threw everybody in that administration. He tried to word it nicely. I read you the quote, but he threw everybody in that administration under the bus. It's not my fault I'm making this decision. It's their fault I'm making this decision. No context to it. I haven't seen a response from Campbell. I'm sure there'll be one. Let me check and see if they've actually released anything on X. But it's wild, isn't it? Let's see here. This talks about a national job search. Let's see. Here's the article here. Just says a national search. So it's very short and sweet that he resigned, accepted the associate head coach. No rebuttal yet, and we'll see. But it's going to make it very difficult for them, I think, to go out and vet head coaching candidates, because then those head coaching candidates will have to ask the question, so what was he talking about? Can you explain to me where we are? Is this true? It's going to limit your field. Now, guys are going to want to be a head coach. But Campbell's, in my mind, a terrific example of a school that thought the grass was greener because of the developing football program. So they jumped leagues. Like I say, I know several people down there. I won't name them, but I've had conversations. They've regretted leaving the Big South almost from the first year they were in their new league. Travel costs, I was told by someone I've known for a long time that travel costs ended up being more than 4 times what they had budgeted for. The complete travel costs, food, planes, buses, hotels, and they were blown away by the prices. You would have thought they would have researched that a little bit more. Because when they left the Big South, they did it kind of in a way that this coach is leaving them a little, what's the word? A little arrogantly. You know, we're not a football league. We have a few schools that play football, but the Big South is a basketball league, and I wish it would just embrace that and just become a basketball mindset. Let's just do that, like the Atlantic 10. Just an example. The MAAC. We're a basketball league. Let's go out and find schools that want to be part of a basketball league. So I think they would like to get back to the Big South is what I'm saying. And I don't know all those conversations. We're never told anything like that. But I know they've regretted it from year one, from a financial perspective. And maybe all of this has finally caught up to them, right? This is now, 3-4 years removed since they left the Big South again. So maybe now all those different costs they're looking at, and maybe this is why they did tell their coach, hey, look, we can't give you pay-for-play money. And then that's where the coach has to go out and be creative. I don't know what kind of freedom he may have had, but you got to go out and try to figure out a way to find some donors and understand what's going on. So it tells me they opted into the revenue share, and now they're just kind of like putting their hands up, if all this is true with their coach. Now, we don't talk cricket. Bandar, welcome, by the way. No, we're not a cricket talking community here. Now, if the local peeps here would like to do that, I mean, sure, we could do some research. Cricket's kind of like baseball, kind of. So anyway, I don't have any answers about what is going to happen to change this. I don't believe there's anybody with any power to change this. When I see how the NCAA is trying to do this and that, I just start giggling. I'm like, stop. What? You just got shot down in court again last week. Someone's going to challenge you on anything you try to do to limit movement after you've given movement freely, and you're going to lose that as well. So what do you just keep throwing policy out there that you know is not going to stick to try to be relevant again? You're still trying to throw out penalties to certain schools for whatever, tampering, or there's no rules. You've allowed this to become the Wild West. Those of you who ran college athletics, you allowed all this to happen because you got absolutely revealed for what you were. You were a complete greedy cash cow amongst yourselves. You lied for years about the revenue that was being won. Thanks, Bandar. We need subscriptions. Help us out. Appreciate that, brother. so now, you're not going to get any sympathy from any court ever. From the moon launch in my neck of the woods to the serene New River here where I will head back soon. BDST is live and online. Good morning. What's up, Morris? Yeah, that was cool. Now, I got to be honest. The moon launch yesterday. Yes, we need subscriptions, Bandar. I love that name, by the way. Bandar. Remember Thundar the Barbarian? It was one of my favorite cartoons. I need to get a Thundar the Barbarian t-shirt. Ookla. Remember Ookla? Sorry. I loved Thundar the Barbarian. But the moon launch yesterday, NASA shooting the rocket. I'm telling you, man, that was cool. That was absolutely cool. I did take the time to watch that launch and how it kept going. And I'm sitting there the whole time, and I remember what happened with the Challenger launch. And the whole time I'm pretty nervous watching them. So now I'm following NASA on X, and they're going to take you through the trip up there. Oh, it's going to be cool with the technology. That was exciting. Not a lot gets me excited. That got me excited. That was cool. Because it answers all the questions. I've had the same thing. We haven't gone to the moon in however long it's been. And this is cool. This is cool. And I love to see, the interviews with the astronauts, how excited they were. Morris says, I lived in Florida for 25 years, never been to one of those launches. Yeah, I'd love to. That would be cool to see it in person. I just fascinated at the fire and the color. It's pretty cool. That was cool. That was cool. Imagine sitting on top of a rocket going 15,000 miles per hour. What I like too, they were showing they were on airplanes, coming into land, or they were taking off and they were catching it out the window, and that was awesome. That was cool. That was cool. That was awe-inspiring to think that we did it in the late 60s, but especially then, to think we can create something and send it beyond our horizontal plane, out of our atmosphere, up into another realm, and have it function properly and have human beings alive, and then able to go to another orb and walk around and do all this stuff. It blows my mind. It's so cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, once they get up there, seeing all the stuff and the communication. It's going to be a lot different than it was back in the day. We're going to get I think we're going to get some pretty up close interaction. But we wish them well, all those folks. And I haven't read the details. I don't know how long their mission lasts and all that, but that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, wow. T-Bird. I remember Mom calling us to the TV to watch the first moonwalk. I don't remember, a little bit before my time, but I've seen all the footage since then. And I just remember kind of being in shock. I don't want to bring that memory up, but when the Challenger exploded, I just remember I wasn't quite sure. We were watching it at school. I wasn't quite sure what happened at first. I was thinking, and then everybody got quiet, and then you heard screaming, and then you realized, oh my God. So yesterday, I had that thought going in my head the whole time. But yeah, this has gotten a lot of reaction. What happened with Campbell yesterday? They're not a big school in terms of power school, but they are a very good school. I mean, just look at this right here. Here's one of the first images. This is them taking a shot of the earth once they get above the earth. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It's awesome. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But anyway, we'll get your thoughts on all that. And we'll talk to David Smith about a lot of things coming up here as we rock and roll throughout the day. I do, Bandar. Thank you. Let's keep it going. We need to get to 1,000. That's our goal. We need 1,000 would be great. Are you a wrestler? Am I a wrestler, Randy Orton? I wish. Wish I had Randy Orton's money. Not his mother. I don't know his mother. I don't know his mother. But his money. He's good. Randy Orton's good. Huh. Thanks, Bandar. I do. Let's hope they last. Let's hope they stay. Glad it wasn't a Chevette, Morris. A Chevy Chevette. Is that kind of like the AMC Pacer? That'd be great, though, man. That'd be great. We've got a lot going on today on the program. Appreciate everybody stopping by, as always, and thanks to our sponsors. Joining us now on the program is that gentleman. Let's just say it the way it is. He's my brother from another plane. kind of like the moon. The folks right now get headed toward the moon as we talk. What's up, DS? What's up?
To the moon and beyond. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Was that not cool yesterday? Is that just me? But I wanted to take the time to watch that launch, and I got chill. I don't know. To me, that's just cool. That's just cool.
It is cool. I couldn't see it live, and I'm reminded, sadly, of 1986, and I'll tell you a little story about that. I graduated, finished playing in 85, Rick, and was working at the university. I come back to graduate school. Dr. Taylor says, come on back and finish, do your master's degree. I said, I don't want any more school. He says, if your job doesn't work out, come back. And I talked to my family about it. I said, you know what? I think I'll do it. So I was working at the Dedman Center at the time, doing some odd and things. I don't know specifically what I was doing. It's equipment room stuff at that time. And on the day of that launch of the tragedy of the Challenger in 1986, and ironically, Pebbles and her family were in Orlando at the time, and her younger brother, for a school, a big school event, they could see it in Florida. They were right near Cape Canaveral where it launched. And so they were all watching it as it happened. So I got a little nostalgic thinking about that. But I'm also reminded, Rick, of a time when we were young. People went to the moon. They always traveled the Apollo projects and the whole bit. And so, yeah, it was kind of cool to see them go up there. I'm still blown away by it. I don't know how astronauts do it. I'm claustrophobic as heck. I don't even love an elevator for longer than 5 minutes. Imagine being up in space.
I know. It's funny you say that. I'm the same way.
I can't deal.
That's the intrigue that I have, because I can't ever imagine. I would never do it. And the fact that these people do it and what's going through their mind, it's funny you say that. I think the exact same thing. I know.
I mean, all the things they have to do to prep for it and the whole bit. That's probably why I'm as intrigued about it a lot like you. It's the fact that, and that's what probably makes us love sports like we do too. It's like, man, these guys at its core, sports, they're doing things that we can't do at all. It's like, how can the guy stand in the box and hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball? Hardest thing in sports to do a lot of times. Or how do you stand over a shot in golf? And we'll see that next week with the Masters, and hit it with thousands and millions of people watching. It's why we love the people who can do things we can't. And I'm sure that's a lot of my intrigue with this Apollo, or with the Moon Project, I should say. Yeah. So it's good to see. Definitely.
Well, man, there's so many things we can get into. I don't know exactly what you want to get into, but I guess the first thing on my mind was what happened at Campbell yesterday.
I saw that.
And now you have a coach who's just walking away, putting everything on the administration. It's interesting. And I don't know which direction they go, but this is kind of a new layer, isn't it, to all this that's going on?
Well, he said the quiet thing out loud, didn't he, Rick? It's what happened in some ways, but he won't be the first now that he's done it. Because people can simply now say, well, yeah, what he did is what I mean. And what he is saying is, and also what Campbell University is saying. Campbell University, you got to take this at two layers. First, the coach is pretty much saying, I'm absolving myself of any of this. I'm going because I don't have the resources, and I can't coach players this way. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He says, this isn't going to work for me because it's a talent-driven sport, and if you don't have money to even at that level, I can't compete with my peers in the CAA. Of course, Campbell used to be a Big South school with us, and so we know all about Campbell and the Camels. But it also said, and I'd be interested to hear what the university says, the university in his eyes has also said, we can't and won't be in this space like this. We're going to stay at our core. And it sounds like they're making that bed and saying, whatever it ends up being, it'll be. And we'll get somebody in here that'll think this is enough. And we'll see how it goes. And so maybe they're gambling on setting a new trend. That is, this is all we've got. We've got this nice arena. There will be enough people at the end of the day that'll want to come play here. And we'll see how it goes. Now, Rick, watch this. It'll go one of two ways. It's more than two. But the two that I think of is if they go 5-28 next year, then everyone will say, well, of course they are. They aren't paying.
Right.
But Rick, if they mess around and get a guy late and they come back and they're like 5th in the league and they're like in the semifinals of the CAA tournament, the administration will say, that's fine. And they may say that's fine either way. And so this is going to be real interesting. I saw that yesterday and I thought about that thing. And I say to myself, this is going to be a test of two wills here. There's a coach who feels like, bruh, like most people, I can't even feel the roster. I got everybody, and it's going to be one and gones because the Campbell players that come in will outplay their stay, and so they'll go. But of course, if you pay them enough, they will leave anyway. So he's probably so I think everyone is starting to wrap their head around mid-major basketball is a feeder program to better things. And they've all assigned themselves to that. And in his particular case, he's feeling like, I can't even get to first base. I'm going to go to greener pastures. And so we'll be real interested to see what will happen. But again, you know how it works. Someone will take the job with all of its flaws and figure out what the next move is. They will take it. It's an opportunity for it. And somebody, and we know of some pretty good people that can coach in this world that right now are on the sideline. I'd be interested to see if the phone call isn't made to somebody like our guy.
Yeah, I know.
who can squeeze blood out of a turnip. Now, he left a frustrating situation, depending on what you read, when it wasn't said resources to be competitive in the league he was in. I get all that. But we know a guy.
We know a guy.
We know a guy. And they better make a phone call to him if they're breathing over there.
Correct. If they have a soul, if they understand anything, they better be one of their first calls.
You better make a phone call. You better make a phone call. That's right.
Well, it's interesting, and we'll see what the fallout may be. And I want to see if Campbell issues an official response, because this makes them look – this is putting everything on them, and they're like being attacked here by the guy who's leaving to go get his new cushy job with his buddy. And it's like, oh, you're going to have to respond somehow, I would think. I mean, it's interesting to me. It's interesting.
Well, I think, Rick, this is going to be the beginning. Even if people hadn't said it in as direct a way as he did, the fact is that most people will – I mean, it doesn't matter how great it's been. When it ends – if it doesn't end in a way that someone is leaving for a better job, it's almost always going to end where there's the blame game. Well, we just didn't have enough resources. And that's the new thing now. If you don't have enough resources, that is the alibi / excuse that maybe it doesn't work. But what about the places that's got enough resources and you aren't winning? So that's when guess what the administration does then? Then they respond by saying, gave you all you needed. Didn't happen for us. I mean, Mark Pope at Kentucky is sitting over there now thinking to himself, man, they ain't going to be stroking $20 million plus checks to me too much anymore.
That's right.
Indiana's new coach, I think it was over $30 million, the most revenue of any Division I college basketball program by way over Kentucky's $30 million. They didn't get to the tournament. And so that means, I think I heard you say it once too. It may even been Seth Greenberg, of all people who I heard say, you can't even be surprised if down the road coaches get shorter deals now. Shorter deals.
Yeah.
For everyone involved. For them, I mean, you've got Will Wade, creeps out. That guy, boy, just crept out in the middle of the night. I mean, but NC State made that bed with that guy. They knew what they were getting.
They knew.
When they brought him in.
They knew.
And they couldn't get Keats out of that fast enough to, even though he had taken him to the Final Four. You can love or hate Keats, but he did it with some level of respect and dignity relative to anybody at that level. But I think now this is what coaches are going to be looking to do, and administrations are going to be looking to do, is that I can see down the road that they may start shortening these guys' deals and then just re-upping them, because no longer is a player coming in saying, well, you're in the last year of your deal, or you only got 2 years left and I'm signing on to be here 4 years. No one's signing on to be anywhere 4 years anymore. So maybe at the mid-major level, but only maybe, Rick. I mean, look at us at Radford. I mean, who around here has been here long enough that's part of Darius's first group? Zion was just part of Darius's last group at Radford. That is it on the roster. And so it's just a whole new game, a whole new level of doing things. But that Campbell thing's going to have some fallout. I can't wait to hear what Campbell's response is going to be, because they're going to have to pivot real quickly, because they got to hire themselves somebody now for sure.
Well, considering you're one of the wisest and most intelligent people I know, here I am. I'm going to ask you an impossible question. You ready?
Let's go.
How do you see it all, things being implemented around the big picture of college athletics to kind of bring any sanity? Is there anything that's going to stick? And is there anybody out there that's going to be able to implement anything, given what has happened with Pandora's box and everybody being unleashed? What is it viable, or are we just going to be wild, wild west for the foreseeable future?
That is, I have asked people that question. I've talked to some of my, like Steve Robinson, who's at Carolina, forever 3 championships. He's coached for 43 years. He just retired. I spoke to him a little bit about it when we was in passing a couple of years ago. I've spoken to athletic directors. I've spoken to coaches like at Radford and different places. And I've asked the question, what's the fix? And Rick, here's the answer. And you're not going to love it. No one has an answer. Every time, but there is a couple of steps in it that people feel like, and I remember talking to Darius Nichols about it about 2 or 3 years ago around the NIL and the transfer portal. And to a man, they all feel like, because when it comes to money and pay for play, you called it that, and I agree with you, Rick. The NIL thing, if it had been NIL, I don't think anybody would have much problem with the guy signing a deal with Sheeler or Hart Motors to endorse cars, or if you sell T-shirts. That was what I thought was name, image, and likeness. Me too. And in fact, we were all supportive of it. We all used the Michael Vick analogy.
Made sense. Yeah.
How many jerseys would Vick have sold? How much money would he have made? The Brian Randalls of the world, Logan Thomas's, David Wilson's, on we go, right? But when I talked to Darius, the one thing that they said was the NIL or the pay for play, fine. If that's going to be what it's going to be, fine. In some of the big boy eras, they feel like it's always been a handshake deal done. So in some of that, fine. It's the transfer portal part. That's the part that they feel like if we could find some rails around that, we could be okay. Because what it does is it takes the coaches and they can't tell how to build a team. Now, player empowerment will tell you, hey, coach, if you don't want me another year, you get rid of me anyway. So if you didn't need me, you would just say, hey, your scholarship's not renewed. So it's kind of been that way. So the other side of it is, well, then I'll get you before you get me. That's the cynical part of the whole thing. But the truth, Rick, like most things, is in the middle. And the fact of the matter is if the transfer portal just had some level of guarantees that you knew what was happening. See, this is where pro sports comes in. That I don't hate about pro sports is no matter what you feel about pro sports, they at least have deals signed where you know what your roster is going to be from time to time, so you can build some sense of team building and those kinds of things. That's the one that I think is as irritating as the pay for play. Now, the coaches will tell you that players are simply walking in now when they recruit them. I saw Dawn Staley. I saw an article from Dawn Staley on the women's side the other day. And at that level, it's pay for play too.
It is.
And she said right now, she says, we're not even going to waste anybody's time from the jump. But if you come here, we know we're going to give you this. We're going to get you to get your degree and all that. Prior to that, getting them there, she says we have to start with the finances part of it. What we see is reasonable and what they see is reasonable. And if the two mesh, then we're good. And then we build upon here's what we can do for you and that kind of thing. So it starts with that. She says there's no sense in sugarcoating it. Let's go down the road of here's what the academic dorms look like. Here's what your housing looks like. No, let's just get to it right away. And if it's not a fit, then then it's not a fit. So Rick, the answer to it is so complex because, and I've talked to Robert about this, Robert, our AD. I said, what is stopping us or anyone from just putting these things in place? Because if it was easy enough to do it, Rick, it would have been done without the legal parts of it. So why can't it get figured out? It is the most complex thing I've ever seen because of the legalities behind it. Is it contracts? Are they employees? I heard Coach Elmo talk about it. Every state's got these kind of regulatory things.
Yes.
And so you're saying to yourself, okay, how do you position it? But how does pro sports has a model. So I believe on some level it's going to have to move over to that kind of model with contracts. And I think it'll probably start with the football portion of it. And that'll all start, in my opinion, Rick, when the big boys separate and then the rest aren't separated. And then off we go with it. Because, Rick, I think it is an impossible thing right now. And I hear a lot of people say it's not sustainable. And I don't know, where this thing is going to land. But at the end of the day, it is. Players are getting paid so much money these days. It is absurd. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. I saw something where I think it was Jay Williams he posted something about the amount that these agents are siphoning from these kids. So the kids don't even know enough about it to know
yes
what's happening. They're just, what do you think about it, Rick? And listen, I'm a guy from humble means. I know at 18, some people claim I don't know anything now, but I know at 18 I knew less. But the fact if someone came and said to me at that particular time, 600,000 of anything as a number, I didn't care if you took 20%.
You didn't care, I know.
What do I care about 20%?
Go ahead.
I'm going to get the balance. I'm thinking, so the fact that they're like, trying to manage all that, it's why you kind of would hope that someone would be in there, someone legitimate to do it. But these agents are nothing more than folks that, hey, man, you want to be my agent? Can you make these calls for me? Right. I got too much to do. Right. And so it becomes that kind of thing, Rick. So there's so many layers to the whole thing that it feels like to me at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a regulation level and contract levels to get it all squared away. That's my
Agreed. And I'm wondering if the whole state thing brings Coach Elmo brought up, this throws everything into a more disarray, but I'm wondering if the SEC or the Big Ten just come out and say, here's the new policy. Here's it is, 2-year deals. You can't leave. If you do, your contract's gone. We're going to take your money back. And if you want to be a pro, I'm wondering if that's what it's going to take.
Yep.
Because like you said, I've always wondered too. So again, you and I thinking alike, I've had that in my mind. Well, what's stopping us from saying, this is how we're doing it here?
Our business.
It's our business. This is how our university needs to survive. Is there anybody who's going to fight against that? This is what we need to do. We've looked at the finances. We've talked to our board. We've talked to our president. We have to do this. And what kind of pushback would there be? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
You got to feel, Rick, that every time they sat down and said what you just said, by George, we getting ready to go do it. Bring in our attorney. Hey, this is what we're about to do. You get a feeling that an attorney has said,
I know.
You're going to have yourself up a river without a paddle. It has to have been that, because there's no way that in a perfect world, the big power brokers wouldn't have said, we got to get some guardrails around it, because now you're just doling money. So the alternative to doing that is to just keep doling money. And if that's the better option, that tells you that they probably have looked at all that on some level. And without that's, again, Rick, we're not being in the room with them, but smart people in places like the University of Michigan, that's an incredibly prestigious university, not just a sports factory. And those folks are pretty brilliant up there. They haven't even figured the whole thing out. So I just feel like somebody is going to have to regulate it in a professional manner with contracts. It seems like, for it to become that. And then the next phase of it is what becomes of mid-major levels, our level, Radford University, the CAA, the A10s, what becomes of that. I personally feel like when that dust settles, it'll settle into a normal thing. I remember in the NBA years ago, and I know you're not an NBA fan, and one day we're going to talk about that too. I'm going to have to help. You need help. You need therapy. You need.
It used to be my second favorite league. I couldn't get enough of the NBA.
You need. Bro, listen, I will be the first to tell you that it's not the league we grew up on, but I don't think it's not the alpha, but it's not the omega. It's not quite the omega. So I gotta get you. Javonte Green's playing in said league. He's our guy. So we got Javonte. Well, we got to get you back on some of that. But Rick, years ago, the NBA had no rookie salary cap. And I remember the last year that they paid people just based on whatever the strategy was. Glenn Big Dog Robinson, fine player at Purdue, did a great job. He got like a $60 million deal. And others came behind him, and it wasn't his fault, but he was the last to get that. And then what happened was veterans were getting pushed out. And the NBA didn't love that about it, that the rookies was coming in, taking all this salary cap, and 10, 12-year vets was getting moved out. So you didn't have a locker room with real experience and grown men. So they trimmed that thing back and said, we're going to set up a rookie wage scale. Now, nobody went kicking and screaming. You're still going to make millions. So they set it up to say, this is what it's going to be. So they were able to do that because they're a private business. They're able to set up things that way. So that's the kind of thing that college needs. But again, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to set contracts and boundaries behind it. And so now rookies go in, have to earn their second deal, and then you pay them accordingly and stuff like that. So that's just a small example of what can be done when you line up stuff accordingly. But again, Rick, it comes back to legal processes and contracts, in my opinion, just some folks I've talked to, before it can even happen that way. And of course, the transfer portal may never go anywhere, Rick, as long as coaches can leave one day after saying they're not going to leave, Will Wade, and there's Tommy Lloyd, who's being as wonderful as he needs to be. And there's all this chatter about the Carolina job. And if they can leave, then the portal will never change, because players are going to be like, well, how do you expect me to be loyal to something? He's got a contract and he's gone. I know. So that's, and I heard the commissioner, the NCAA commissioner says, we can't do anything about the portal as long as coaches are going to keep moving like they move. Says it was good for the goose, it's good for the gander. It's just going to be this. So.
Yeah. Well, we shall see, and I think you're exactly right. I think it's just nobody wants to take that first move because they don't want to be the ones out there on an island and something bad happened, and all of a sudden,
you gotta have some protection. What's going to
happen. So I
gotta have some protection.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well,
what'd you think of?
All right. Well, let's get into some.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you what you thought of the Final Four. Maybe you were going there, maybe you weren't, but I'll let you do what you got.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's what I was going to do, actually. Let's talk about some good stuff. I mean, I don't like Michigan and Arizona being in the semis. I wish that were the final game. Man, I think that would be great, but that's what we have. And then you have UConn, and everybody thinks they're going to take Illinois, but Illinois is really the ones who's not had much close games so far, on that side of the bracket. So we'll see.
Well, my bracket is trash. I mean, straight trash, Rick. I don't know where I rank in the BDST polls. I haven't even looked, but I did have Arizona winning it, so I'm still alive with a little flicker.
Me too.
And so you've got 2 1s, you've got a 2 and a 3. So if you're the NCAA or if you're anybody, you got to be pleased with the names and the brands that have made it through. Quite frankly, by the time the Sweet 16 had came, you had big names and big brands. I follow VCU a lot. My daughters went there once, going there now, finishing up her master's degree. And so we follow them a lot. She works there. And so when VCU beat Carolina, then they played Illinois. I wanted to see what Illinois was all about. And my wife was watching the game. And the first thing she said is, good grief, look at the size across the board of Illinois. They were 7-1, another 7-1 guy. They got the European theme going over there. And so they're not to be bothered with. And here's the thing, Rick. You've got teams that have played big-time basketball in big-time conferences. They're calloused up and they're well-tested. Illinois and UConn, I think that could go either way. We've seen UConn's best. I know. And I heard David Teal. David Teal is the greatest guy in the world. I can listen to him all day. David Teal talked about the fact that Dan Hurley has not lost, but I think hadn't lost at all in the Sweet 16 since he's been at
10-0. 10-0.
Once he gets there, they figure it out. And that's not with the same roster. So that's him. And that's his ability to get guys ready to go. So that'll be a chess match. But, of course, we saw St. John's. But, Rick, you and I talk about conference games, and then there's other basketball. They got smoked by St. John's in the championship game in Madison Square Garden. No worries. All they've done since then is figure out a way to win each game and pull through it. And then that Michigan-Arizona game is just, oh, gosh, wow. Rick, they're playing fantastic right now. They are playing really, really good. And so that could go either way. You hate to see that. I picked Arizona to win it all. I'm going to stay with that. But I think Michigan figured it out after limping home in the conference tournament. Didn't win their conference tournament, right? Didn't win it. And so off they go into what I think is going to be a tough game against Arizona. I got Arizona playing Illinois. I feel like Arizona win. I got Illinois pulling the upset. I think UConn, they found a way to win that game against Duke. But like most comebacks, like a tango, it doesn't happen with one. It takes two. Duke gave some away. UConn took some. It doesn't happen without that. And so, that play's been unpacked over the last 5 days, more than enough. I don't need to tell you more about that. I mean, if he makes the pass, whatever, but there were about 5 plays during that segment. Boozer takes the ball after a timeout. Camden, the big one, dribbles it off his foot. They didn't get a bucket on that play. Sarr fouls on a hell ball situation, didn't need to. Boozer trails Caravan. He hadn't hit a 3 all game long, and he hits the 3 to take it from, I think, 4-1 or 5-2. So there was a lot going on during that stretch. Going on. Right. So the last play is magnified because it's the last play. And so so we'll see how that all plays out. And so don't cry for Duke. They'll reload. It's what they do. But at the same time, you got to credit UConn for just being savvy in that moment and find a way to hit the shot. So it should be a great weekend across the board, man. Should be some good college basketball for sure.
It will be. It will
really
be.
Good teams. Really good
teams. And I know you'll enjoy it, my friend, as well.
Yeah, man. We will do it. Got to do it. Got to do it. So,
all right. Sir. Well, listen, brother, have a great Easter weekend. My best to you and your family. And
yes, sir. You too, man.
We'll resume next week. We'll start circling in a little bit now. We got the draft. I don't know if isn't it weird the way free agency just kind of stopped?
Just like boom.
What? It's like there's a lot of good players still out there. I guess teams are now going to wait and just see. I don't know. We'll have to get into that. It's strange to me in a way.
Yeah, they had the meetings. I guess the owners' meetings, and all the coaches were together for their annual convention and whatnot. And then there's a chat about Jalen Hurts, and we got to chat about that. That now all of a sudden there's reporting that. But Rick, and we'll tease folks with this. We've said there's something going on.
We talked about it. I thought about you immediately. I said we were all over this during the season last year.
Something didn't mesh, and it wasn't just A.J. Brown. No. It wasn't just A.J. Brown. Now, whether it's real or not, it's something. So, yeah, we got to unpack that for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that. On is, I know a team in the AFC West that needs a tight end, and Njoku's still out there, and I don't understand why we haven't made a call.
and they wear orange, just like Cleveland wore shade of orange, so he didn't have to get too familiar.
He can keep his socks, exactly.
100%. Yeah, man. That's right. For sure.
But anyway. All right, brother. Great stuff, man. Appreciate you, as always.
Happy Easter, my guy.
You
Take
too.
care of yourself. See you.
All right, man. Stay safe. There you go.
All right,
David
buddy.
Smith. Tell me David Smith wouldn't be a great commissioner for the NCAA. He wouldn't want the job now. I'm not – he doesn't want that job, but love David. David's great. That's a great conversation. Great conversation. But, yeah, I don't know, man. That was interesting. We're going to get into it. By the way, we're going to take this. You don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss anything. But Dwight Vick's got – I don't want to steal any thunder, but he's got a little personal investment in what happened at Campbell yesterday. You can probably figure out what I'm saying. Family Fencing. Great folks. Jason Green, 540-200-8294. Call them for a free quote. You know your grass is getting green. You've probably already mowed a couple of times. It's time to figure out if you want to get a nice fencing around your place. McClellan Chiropractic to Mark Hunley. No April Fools from yesterday, Mark. I'm getting over there, I promise. Sponsor of our chat room. Great stuff. Great stuff. Professional Door Incorporated, speaking of great stuff. Travis Williams up in Dublin, 38 years in business, continuing what his dad has done. He's the best. And go see them in right across from New River Community College. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. We thank them, and everything that's going on with the racetrack is awesome. And so thanks to Tim and thanks to Jonathan for being our presenting sponsor. It means a whole lot, especially coming from there and seeing what they're doing each and every day. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Reach out to Charles Lee. Ryan Pry, the attorney, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. And everybody is no one's picked Illinois on our question. Everybody's going UConn, Arizona, or UConn, Michigan. UConn is the winner. I was asked, the question was who was going to play in the championship on Monday night. And everybody's going UConn. Nobody's picked Illinois, but we do have a few people that's picked Michigan to beat Arizona. So we're up to about 30 responses. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner, BDST. I'm telling you, my exclusive banking partner, we just did a refinancing of my home and everything and combined some things. And I'll tell you, they made it as easy of a because I get stressed out over things like that, and they made it just as an easy of a process that you could think of. If you need a bank, go to National Bank. ReadySetFund.com, Bob Chris, CRIST11@gmail. They issue a series of text messages. There's different varieties. They do it. If you have an organization, if you're a church, if you're a school, if you're a team, if you're a rec team, whatever, you need help, they will help you in the best ways possible. Sundown Electric, our latest sponsor, excellent reputation. The Smith brothers, long list of satisfied clients, attention to detail, clear communication. They're honest. Right there in Ellison, give them a call. Anything you might need. Look at all the different things that they provide. It's unbelievable, and we appreciate them. If you need a T-shirt, thanks to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel, they are $20. Hit me up there. The NRV Super Bowl's been around for 25 years. Reach out to them. They're doing stuff on the weekends, 382-5525. You can watch the Sweet 16 there. You can do whatever you want, or not the Sweet 16, the Final Four there, whatever that might be. Great stuff all the way around. So be sure to go see them. And also, we want to thank Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. They've been doing it since 1997. He's a big Hokie fan. Give James a call. Lots of house parts and things like that. 540-381-8011. Andy Bitter scheduled to join us next from Tech Sideline. Yeah, David has too much character to be a commissioner. I agree with that. Ryan Pry, the attorney, he's going Illinois, Arizona. What's your question? You can do whatever you want. I think Illinois high is going to be a difference. What if it's Illinois and Michigan, and it's just another night in the Big Ten? Ugh. That wouldn't be very intriguing at all, in my mind. Very intriguing at all. But good stuff all the way around. Good stuff. It's always good stuff when this next gentleman joins us, and there he is. He's Andy Bitter. He is the head football writer for Tech Sideline. What's up, brother? Good morning.
Not much. How you doing?
Hey, doing all right, man. Just talking about a lot of things. This thing at Campbell's kind of got people going, wow, coach leaving, saying, hey, we don't have any money. I'm out of here. That was weird.
I mean, college football coaches have been doing that for a while. They were doing it at big schools.
Yeah, that's true.
Chip Kelly left UCLA. He's just like, they can't compete with Ohio State. And then he goes and wins the national title.
Bye.
So, yeah.
Well, you've got a lot going on, man. Tech football practice is up. They're going to have, another scrimmage tomorrow. Then they break for the Easter weekend. But you've had a chance to talk to some folks. What's been some of your observations the first full week? 2 weeks, I guess we could say now.
Well, I mean, they're humming along. It sounds like this is a better group of passers than they've had in the past. Now you have to take this with the typical grain of salt that comes with spring praise with some of these players, but Troy Hune goes out there and throws for 4 touchdowns in the scrimmage, from what they tell us, and you look at Grunkemeier's completion percentage in the past. Bryce Baker's a pretty good passer as well. It sounds like they might have a crew of quarterbacks that can throw the ball a little bit better than they have in the past. Now, I've got to see it on the field. Brett Pry's like, man, they can fit these into tight windows. It's like, I feel like I've heard this from you before. So just give me, allow me to see this on the field, dude. In the past, it's like, this is the best team I've had since I've been here. And then they go 3-9. So I got to see it before I believe it. But I think all the peripherals that you look at in terms of completion percentage that they had last year and stuff like that, you go, yeah, I think they could be a little bit better of a passing team. I think there's a trade-off. I don't think they run the ball quite as well from the quarterback spot. And I think that was going to be an inevitable drop-off from somebody like Kyron Drones. But, the quarterback spot in today's game, you have to throw the ball and you have to push it down the field. And they didn't really have that last year as well as they'd hoped. So it'd be interesting to see if they can get that going.
How has your glimpses of the offensive line worked? We've talked about that. We did last week. To me, it's the integral part of everything that's going to come together. What are you seeing there with depth and those guys that they're running out there? That's the first time.
Well, it's so disjointed what we see. We never go out there and see just like a starting 5 working against the starting defense and actually doing a real drill. It's just, last time they were under different sleds and one-on-ones and 2-on-2. Like, it's just never the full group, and they're still experimenting so much. I think Johnny Garrett, Brody Meadows, I think had class or something the other day. So Michael Troutman, transfer from Penn State, was in at right guard. So I don't even know what the starting 5 is going to look like. This might be a misdirection. Last year Tomas Rimac worked at tackle the whole time. They needed up at guard and other spots during the season. So I think the spring is really a time to experiment. You can't really tell what the O-line will look like until they're out there going up against the other, another team, not even your own team, because I don't think, scrimmage sessions necessarily give you the greatest idea either. So I'm going to withhold judgment on the offensive line until I see it out there. Because I've heard in the past, like, we're making progress, O-line. This is the best we've looked in years. It's like, well, it hasn't looked great in recent years. So being the best you've looked in years, well, nobody said that this year, but I'm saying being the best that you've looked in years is not necessarily a compliment. It's just better than bad what it's been before. So again, wait and see, but I like some of the pieces they have there. Let's see how they fit together.
What's been your impression of Brent Pryce so far? Now, solely the defensive coordinator, because his situation is very odd. It's an anomaly to fire a coach, and in the same year you hire him back with the new coach, regardless of the relationship. And, of course, you're the head coach running the program, and now you're just a part of it. What's been your impression of him and your interactions with him?
He seems like the same guy. It doesn't seem like he's changed much. He's not out there like timid, like, oh man, I've got to hold back now that Franklin is the head coach. I think that relationship is so strong between those two that he feels comfortable going out there and being himself. And, himself is just sort of a, upbeat, positive guy that I think really enjoys just working with the defense again. You become head coach and your attention is pulled in so many different directions, and you'd be surprised how little of it is football, right? It's this guy's missing class, or this guy's missing workouts, or
right.
All this other stuff, recruiting and NIL payments and all this other stuff you got to worry about. It's just not coaching ball. That I have to imagine it's refreshing. And he said as much to get out there and be in charge of a unit again and work on some X's and O's and different schemes. I think a lot of guys like that and getting back to that. Sure, the money is much better as the head coach, but he's making pretty good money as a defensive coordinator too.
Right.
So, kudos to him for finding a spot that, is comfortable with them. And he understands that this is a working relationship that has been very profitable and successful in the past. Why not go back to it?
Agreed. Yeah, kudos to him. That's the best way to say it. I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation, but as much vitriol that was thrown toward him by Tech fans when all that was going down after the ODU game, and for him to go back to that place and just say, okay, well, maybe I tried that. It's not who I am. That's not the kind of coach I want to be. Now I'm doing something I feel comfortable with. That's great. I mean, that's great for him.
I mean, I couldn't have done it.
No.
If place fires me, I'd be like, you're my ultimate enemy for the rest of my life.
It's so odd. I know.
Very strange, but he did it. I mean, moving sucks. So maybe just like,
yeah.
I would have to pack everything up and go somewhere else. And, your family, your kids are in school, like just all sorts of considerations you have to make. I mean, maybe at the end of the line here, it was just a very easy decision for him. I don't know. Jeffrey
Overton. You had a nice piece on him. Of all the running backs, I think he's the most intriguing to me. What was something you learned about him that we already didn't know? Because I think this guy's going to be a really special player.
Yeah, he's getting bigger. I think he played last year at 185, something like that. And Franklin says he's at 205 right now, and he could envision him playing at 210. Which, I mean, you want to keep that speed, that breakaway burst that he had, and they have very good, strength and conditioning people that can make sure that he does that. But durability is always an issue with running backs, and you want to add some weight to him. I think he could be a really interesting piece in this offense because he flashed last year at the end of the year. And you get him and Hawkins in the same backfield. I think you have a really good 1-2 punch. We'll see about Bill Davis. He seems like he needs to come along a little bit. Franklin's mentioned that a couple times already. Messiah Mickens is injured right now. He's a highly touted freshman, but he's also a freshman. And, there's seniority and a pecking order for a reason. So, I like the combination of Hawkins and Overton. I think that's a pretty good running back group.
Yeah, I've heard that too about Davis. He seems to be a little behind right now. He's coming from a different spot. Doesn't mean he can't catch up and get involved in all this. Just means it's going to take maybe a little more time than people want. But patience, that's what it's for.
Well, he's a different style of runner too. And I think he's like 235 pounds or something like that. And, if you don't have the quarterback who's just a battering ram like you've had in the past, you're going to need somebody like that in goal line situations or short yardage. It would help to have some variety there and maybe a bigger guy that can move the pile.
What else has stood out to you? I mean, I know there's a lot of things you like to catch on and write about because you're great about catching people's personalities and catching these great side stories. But what else have you kind of caught so far? I mean, everybody's so excited still, and I just keep hearing the same thing. James Franklin's got a vision of exactly how it's supposed to look because it's been successful where he's gotten, and that's why everybody's so acceptance of everything else because he's got organization that we haven't seen in a while in Blacksburg.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a work in progress. Everybody's if James Franklin heard all the predictions for a record that Virginia Tech fans have next year, he'd lose his mind because his response would be like, we're nowhere close to that. And I don't think that means that he doesn't think they can achieve that in the fall, just that in the spring, when you're halfway through spring practice and 7-8 workouts in at this point, there's so much to work on. And this is so far that this team has to go. And, he's seen it at a high level at Penn State. And, this team was 3-9 last year. There's a long way to go to catch up to being at a pretty high record like they've had at Penn State in the past. So I think he knows that this group has a lot of work to do, and he's been very reticent to throw out praise for different players. He'll talk about the receivers and Aiden Green. He's comfortable talking about Aiden Green as being really good, but hasn't really mentioned any other of the other receivers, and didn't even mention Keyshawn Brown till I brought him up. He's like, okay, yeah, he's one that's doing pretty well. Like he's one that's doing pretty well. He was like the best guy out there the other day, and how fast he looks. So I think he's a little hesitant to just be effusive with praise, and perhaps that's smart. Because if you throw out a little bit of praise right now, the hype train is just going to get rolling so much and people are going to run with it.
Well, and I always go back to something you said years ago on the show, the radio shows. It's just practice. It's practice. So the praise is great, and the people get excited. Quarterbacks that throw for 4 touchdowns when they don't have any threat of contact or anybody in their wheelhouse is different than when, the bullets start firing. So let's see what happens, when they start coming together. I don't know how close they're going to bring things to the quarterbacks, but I'd like to see more, right? To see more of that game type of thing as opposed to just standing back and knowing you've got a free-for-all back there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be live, like actual live. And I followed up. I'm like, you still have like a whistle that you have? He's like, live is live. Like, they just let them go. And like, when I asked that, I was kind of like, when you're playing another team, like the goal is not to hurt the other team, but if it happens, it's football. It happens. You certainly don't want anybody in your own team to inadvertently hurt your own quarterbacks in spring practice. So that's why I asked it. Like, you see Noah Chambers bearing down on a guy in the open field, and you're like, oh, this could be bad. Let me stop this thing before it gets bad. But no, he's like, live is live. Like, they have to have that fear of being hit, and that changes the mindset of the quarterback.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. I know you got angry at somebody last week, but it's got to be tough for guys too. They're just playing the game. They're not thinking. I guess you have to install that, hey, these are my teammates, but they're thinking it's football. Like you said, it's tough to take the football out of a football player, right? I mean, it just is. So
yeah, I think his thing is understand what they're doing in the drill. If it's live, everybody knows it's live, and then they can be, head on a swivel for that situation. If it's a thud tempo or something like that, and you go up and you just absolutely obliterate a guy behind the play, then he's going to be upset about it. He's going to go, what are you doing? Did you not hear what we're doing in this drill? So I think that's where he would get upset at somebody.
What were some of your thoughts watching the Duke implosion against UConn? I know you were watching those games in the Elite Eight.
That was insane. My first thought was, I teach that class here at Virginia Tech, and our story this week was deadline game story. And my class likes to procrastinate. And I can't talk. I procrastinate all the time. So I knew as the last college game of the weekend that a lot of them were going to choose that particular game to write. So when it happened, I'm like, oh, man, they're getting a dose in game story, deadline game story, action there. And it just completely blew up their lead. You have to rewrite everything. I mean, it was a 19-point game. I'm sure they all had it written up like Duke was going to win this whole thing. Sure enough, I asked them a bunch of them the next day, like, how many had that? How many had an alternate lead ready to go? Like, barely any of them did. I'm like, well, this is why I teach it. This is why I teach it. But I mean, that was it couldn't happen to a better school. Duke has had so much success. They beat my Wisconsin Badgers in the national title game a decade ago. So I don't feel too bad for them imploding in this situation, but that was almost impossible to lose in that situation. Once they broke the press initially, all Boozer had to do was hold on to the ball essentially and get fouled and make 2 free throws, and it's over. But he's an 84% free throw shooter, I think, something like that. And not only for them to get the steal, to push it up court, for the guy to pass up the 3, to pass it back to the other guy for a longer 3, and then for that guy to hit that. I mean, it was the most pure 3-point shot in the world.
Ever, yeah.
And then for Danny Hurley not to get teed up for like going face to face with an official for some reason in the immediate aftermath. Is he insane? What is wrong with him? Coming up to the official right after a shot like that? Like, what are you doing? I mean, the whole thing was just, you lose your mind on it a little bit. It was nuts.
And it was Roger Ayers, and I know he and Roger Ayers have a really good relationship. So I'm guessing if it had been somebody else, he probably wouldn't have done it. But yeah, you wonder.
It's good officiating, not to like all these people like, you have to give a technical there. Like, first of all, no, you don't.
No,
and second
you don't.
of all, good on the official for understanding that like this wasn't malicious.
No.
That'd be like the ultimate, like, this is the ref show. Let me ruin this moment, this iconic moment in college basketball history by teeing this guy up. Tee him up and give Duke 2 free throws. We certainly wouldn't be talking about that today.
Wow,
like that'd be a controversy that would last for the rest of time.
No doubt. You mentioned your teaching. It's funny. I was getting ready to call the Radford Tech baseball game the other night. I was talking to a couple people about the show, and they love your segment. They said, I bet Andy's a really good teacher.
I don't know about that.
And I was like, oh, yeah. Well, how has that? Did you ever look at yourself as one day doing what you're doing? I mean, it's pretty cool, man, that you've kind of fallen into that.
I don't think I ever envisioned doing it. Even the first year I did it was 2021. And then I came back to it this year when they asked. And it's like, I mean, it comes with reps. It's like anything.
Absolutely.
Like, you're up there at first and you're terrified to do it. I'm still nervous when you stand up there in front of a group talking and teaching, but I feel like I'm getting more comfortable at it. I don't know if I'm getting the message through as much sometimes, but I think that's the tough part. Is it's a generally quiet group. I'm trying to think back to when I was in college, and I was never like an outspoken guy.
Yeah.
So I have to put myself in their position, and there's a couple of students who will pipe up and talk. I got to figure out ways to get the discussion going. More, but we're in the phase of class where it's like deadline game story. We're doing a podcast next week, column the week after that. There's some interesting, more fun assignments, I think, coming up. So we'll see how this goes. And I like it. Once a week. I hate grading stuff. Oh, I hate grading stuff. That's the worst part of it.
I bet so.
I get to Sunday and I'm like, I got to grade these 20 things and I got to get a lesson plan together. And the grading just kills you, especially when I do the podcast one, because it's like 15 half-an-hour podcasts. I listen to all of them. I listen to all of them, but it takes a lot of time. So, the teaching part I enjoy, the grading part I do not as much.
You do not. Is it the amount of grading that you have to do, or is it?
It's just the amount. I mean, you get to it and you're like, here's 20 game stories I got to go through at this point. And sometimes you get on a roll and you're like, I actually kind of like doing this, but then you finish and you're like, I only have 5 done. I still have 15 to go. It's going to take me a long time. And I talk about my students procrastinating. I procrastinate too. So I'm always on Monday, like scrambling to try to get this stuff done. But, when you have a late Sunday night deadline, there's not really much you can do about grading it until Monday.
Are you into the, before I let you go, did you watch the rocket launch at all to the moon? I thought that was really cool.
I didn't watch it. I'm fascinated by all that stuff.
I am too, man. I am too. Could you ever do that? We were just talking about with David Smith. Could you ever be in that ship and go through all that?
Oh, no. No way. No way whatsoever. That would be people can talk a mean game about doing it, but I bet you if you actually sit inside that and see how small and compact that is, and then like wrap your head around how fast you're being shot into space with all the amount of force behind you and everything that could go wrong. There's no way the average person can do that.
Oh, that's unreal.
That's why they train astronauts the way they do. But I'm glad other people do it. I'm glad there's still a thirst for discovery out there and actually doing stuff like this.
It's going to be exciting now with what we're told we're going to be able to see. This isn't just like still shots back in the original moon landing.
Yeah, right? I feel like camera technology has improved quite a bit in 60 years or whatever it is.
All right, man. Stay safe this weekend. Enjoy the Final Four, and we'll see what comes out of the scrimmage. The scrimmage tomorrow, right? On Friday.
I think so. I think they do that every weekend. Go over there to Wayne.
Okay. All right, brother. Great stuff, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Take care. There you go. Andy Bitter joining us. Yeah, I was intrigued as hell by that yesterday. I got the whole launch. I thought that was cool. I don't know whether you're into that or not, but I think it's cool. I was so worried. I said that in the open. I was so worried after what happened with Challenger. But they're up there now, and they showed the pictures of outside the Earth. That's got to just be you talk about just changing your whole perspective on everything. Jeez Louise. Anyway, hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Alex Guerra is going to join us. Big series for Radford baseball against USC Upstate starting tonight because of Easter weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as opposed to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So come on out to the ballpark. We had a full house for Tuesday's game against Tech. So come on out and hang out. It was great to meet. By the way, I appreciate so many people that don't come to chat that I don't hear from that watch the show regularly. If they don't catch it in the morning, they usually go back throughout the day and took the time. A lot of tech people took the time to come up to me and say hello and say how much they appreciated the show. So thank you. No, thank you. That was great. It was great. People I've never met before. And you kind of forget that. You lose sight sometime. You get so many views that show up per week, and then you don't think about all the different people. Well, they're around. They're around, So that was cool. So thank you for taking the time. That's what I'm saying. Dwight Vick's conversation is going to be very interesting. We're going to be focused a lot on this Campbell situation. His son is going through a major recruitment right now because he blew up at Wingate in his first year. So he is in high demand. I haven't, asked Dwight too much about it because it's their business. It's not my business at all. But I think what happened at Campbell is something he wants to talk about. It kind of will give you an insight about what's really going on in a lot of these different places with young people and what they're also trying to figure out. I don't know. To me, we talked about it with David, and you saw what happened at Campbell, and there's no answers anywhere. And I've come 180. I said that earlier. I've come 180 twice now. I don't think there are going to be any answers. I originally had thought maybe a year or two we might start to see some kind of organization, but hey, give it up to Coach Elmo. He has said it all along. He said, Rick, nothing's going to happen because this is what the NCAA has resigned themselves to, and this is what the SEC and the Big Ten want. They're going to use all this for the breakaway, and then they'll be able to implement any rules that they want at any time. And I believe he's exactly right, and that's exactly where all this is headed. And if you're part of the have-nots, good luck. I don't know I get asked a lot who I think is going to be the have and the have-nots. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I don't know what the breakaway is going to look like. It's coming. And what is that going to do? Right? If those two conferences, and I believe that we're a lot closer to it being announced than you think, if those two conferences say in a joint press conference, since they are the alliance, we're doing our own thing. See ya, NCAA. What happens then to the basketball tournament? Now, football is not sanctioned by the NCAA. There's not an NCAA trophy for college football championship. That's the college football playoff committee, so it's a different thing. What happens to all those institutions if they're part of a league that breaks off? Do they still compete? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's the actions, there has got to be consequences for the actions. And it's fascinating to think about. It's also kind of disgusting to think about. But again, if you'd had a governing body that would have been an actual governing body, none of this would be even talked about today. This wouldn't even be a thing today. Wouldn't even be a thing at all, in any way, shape, or form. So here we are. Alex Guerra is going to join us, Radford Baseball, and then Dwight Vick. And it's a big series coming up with the Highlanders and the USC Upstate Spartans, which has a very good program in the Big South. The Big South's a really good baseball league. High Point's good, Winthrop's good, Radford's having a good year. We got a lot of good stuff. Longwood's having a good year. Radford just took 2 out of 3 from them. This is a strong league. It's a league that used to have Liberty and Campbell, both traditionally really good at baseball. Our league used to be when they did the baseball RPI of the non-power leagues, the Big South used to be right there, like the second or third league from on the list, a mid-major league. So it's a good league. It's a good league. What's up, Big Al? NCAA is a governing body of cash into the pockets. And yes, that's all it's been for generations. And that's why they're going to lose all this stuff they were releasing yesterday about trying to limit a portal. And even Andy said it. I should have got into it with Andy. I will next week, but I didn't jump back into the conversation because I just talked about it with David. But this is why they're going to lose every lawsuit going forward. They already lost one in the last week. They already lost one. So anybody who challenges what they're trying to say they're going to do yesterday, they're going to lose that too. They have no hope of winning any case, which is why a breakaway is going to happen, because why are you going to be part of something that has absolute zero power or authority? And whose fault is it? Is it the schools themselves? I mean, they say all the schools are part of the NCAA. No, it's the people who were assigned to lead the NCAA. Is it the players' fault? Is it the athletes? Nope. Is it a coach, like the coach at Campbell? You may not like it. You may think he's abandoning his kids, but it's not even his fault. It's the people who lined, Big Al said it, it's the people who lined their pockets for so many years with what they were selling, with an education, housing, room and board. That's enough. Meanwhile, we're all collecting 7 figures and we don't have to share it with anybody. And now there's nobody left. There's nothing left. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was. That's right, Morris. It was. Yeah. And that's cool too that it's once a week. That's about all I could handle being a professor. Once a week. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't think I could do it more than that. Every day would be tough. That would be tough. For me, anyway, that would be tough. I wouldn't be good at that. But yeah, daily would not be good for me. I respect the hell out of teachers. I think teachers don't get enough appreciation if they have the right motivations, right, to be teachers. Not what a lot of education, higher education has become today. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But I could see Andy being great at that. Yeah. I've had Richie Davis reached out and said, hey, look at you talking about golf. That's right. I was. We were talking about golf the other day. I was. Look, I can get into the Masters just like anybody else. But I won't follow it the rest of the year. Maybe the U.S. Open. I don't get into the PGA, the British Open. It was cool when Tiger was dominant. That was different, but I don't, it's not the same vibe to me. What's up, Thunder? I had explained to my granddaughter that I was her age when Neil sat it down in 69, talking about the space launch. You could see the wheels working as she thought that one through. Yeah, I'm going to be watching that every day, man. I want to see the updates. I want to see the visuals. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I'm not necessarily a space nerd, but here in 2026 and seeing that happen, because we haven't had it. There's been so much discussion. Why haven't we gone back to the moon? Why are we? And then people tried to create these theories that did we ever go to the moon? Well, now we're going back, and we're going to see it full throttle, maybe today. I don't know when they're planning on starting to show things, but can't wait to see it, man. Big Al says, find the video of the 1950s NCAA president testifying before Congress and his remarks. This will put the current situation into perspective. Yeah, I'll have to do that. It's been a long time, Al, since I have seen that before. That may not be a bad kind of refresher. Yeah. Might be the kind of refresher. Look, and pay for play, or sorry, let me go back. NIL, under its original design, made sense to me and to a lot of other people. And that's what the whole O'Bannon case was based on. It quickly became something else almost overnight. It all stemmed from billions of dollars EA Sports and the universities were making, collectively all the way around, not just each were making billions, but in all of it on EA Sports college football, EA Sports college basketball, whatever it was. And they're using the name, image, and likeness of the players, current players in college, to sell the game, using the names of the players. It makes sense, right? Would you want someone using your name, image, and likeness and you not seeing any kind of the financial benefits, right? It made sense. Michael Vick could go out and be a spokesman for a car dealership. And boy, would that have been popular? Can you imagine how many cars he would have sold? He would have deserved whatever contract he worked out with that dealership. It's just an example I'm giving. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. To me, it does. But that's not what this is. This is now, how much will it take? Let me talk to your handler. If I'm not going to be able to talk to you, where's your parents? Oh, you have an agent? Bring them in here. Here's our budget. Here's what we can give you. Blah, 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 blah. You'll get your payments this many times a month or monthly at this week of the month, and you're going to be here and stay eligible to participate, and let's go. And that's what it became so quickly. And the reason it became that so quickly is something that David alluded to. This has been going on forever. This is not new. This is the way it's functioned for generations under the table. This is not new. Boosters. People in the administrations know exactly what's going on. Do you not think that the Alabama athletic administration doesn't understand what goes on or what has gone on? You don't think people at USC during the whole Reggie Bush era under Pete Carroll, with the rampant cheating to the point to where they were talking about millions of dollars funneling through the locker room after games at USC's during that time, because they were so afraid Reggie Bush was going to just transfer out? And they didn't even have the free-flowing portal back then. Been going on for generations. Blue chips. The reason that movie still strikes so many chords is because it was so well researched. The coaches they used in that movie were all guys who did it. Exactly, Big Al. Nothing to see here. 100%. That's why it went from O'Bannon winning the case, NIL, which I don't know why it's ridiculous that they still use that, to, all right, it's legal now. Now it's legal. That's the only time that NIL has any kind of bearing on today. Let's go. This is what we've been doing. So how much money will it take? It's why it's been so easy. Doesn't that make sense? And that's why it went from one to the other overnight, because you're just falling back into the same behavior. And now nobody's going to put sanctions on you. Now it's just how much can you afford? Now your only concern is, it's a big concern, but you're worried about how much money do you have. Virginia Tech, right? This whole thing about all the money that they now have gotten dedicated into athletics is primarily for pay for play for the football program. It for other things too, but when people talk about gifts that are being given, Mark Cuban gave $30 million. Came out, of course, he wanted to be known that he gave $30 million to his alma mater, right? Indiana, I'm talking about. Indiana football specifically, that he said is earmarked to help with pay for play. So it's no different. It's no different for the big boys. That's why the big boys are the ones dominating, and they don't care because they've been doing it. It's not new to them. It's the same MO. It's just packaged differently. Yeah, simply shed light onto an existing system. Now it's legal. That's all it is. You had the kid there in Blue Chips, right? The guy, I don't remember their names. Wayne, if you're still here, you're great at pop culture. But you remember the guy who talked about this is how much money it would take. My dad needs a tractor. Then later on, they show the brand new John Deere sitting there on the farm. I mean, guy drives the car, drops the keys off with someone. Here, you didn't die. I'm not here. Here you go. I mean, this isn't new. What are we doing? It's been a business like this for the athletes for a long, long time. Now you go back and you hear about all these coaches that were such great recruiters. Boy, they really hit the recruiting trail, thinking about 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. No. They may have been good recruiters, but they had something that we didn't really talk about at the time. They had a boatload of cash, and they were paying kids to play. They just found different ways to hide it and to distribute the funds. That's all it was. That's all it was. So yeah, this whole thing gets, I think, too complicated for people nowadays instead of just being honest. Yeah, we should have a Blue Chips watch party at a local theater. And I watched it again, Wayne, a couple months ago. 2 weeks ago. Just to kind of get reacclimated with it. And I'm like, every time, because I want to make sure when I reference it, I'm not over-referencing it, and I'm not. It's exactly the way. But I think the dilemma of Nick Nolte is real. I think a lot of coaches were probably, and it's, because you had coaches at the time, Carnesecca and Jim Boeheim, Pitino, they were probably describing the anxiety they felt knowing they had to do that. And that's what Nolte's character does, right? He gives in. His conscience got to him at the end. They won. But at the same time, he caved at the end and left. He couldn't live with himself. But I think, Wayne, I think that's probably because of who they had contributing to the movie, especially. That's probably as accurate of a film portrayal we have seen of that to this day. It still holds up. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Go watch how good. And Shaq is really good in that movie. Penny Hardaway is really good in that movie. Right. You're not going to take my mama's house and my job, are you? Yeah, we sure are. Of course that happened. What's up, Brian? Good morning. When I was being recruited in the 80s, those D2 and D3 schools just offered me an education. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for me too. I never got offered anything. Of course, I wasn't an athlete to that degree where I could take it to the next level like you were. So that's why it happened. That's why it went from boom to boom. That's why. That's why. So it's not rocket science, no pun intended, or maybe so, right? We're just talking about the rocket, see, going to space. You want the truth, you can't handle the truth. Right. Right. 100%. 100%. And now, you don't have to hide. You had all these groups that were, created to give money to schools. Tech had NIL groups and all that. Don't need them anymore. You just got to go out to donors and say, instead of raising money for a building, instead of raising money for facility upgrades, we need to raise money for our roster, specifically our roster. Okay. And I think there's a lot of people that have the means that understand that. And then they take pride in that too. I think you can get into an ego, which again, is that not personified? The guy who played the biggest donor, who had the coach, that guy, I have a feeling exists just about everywhere, right? That guy might be the best portrayal in the movie. What do you think, Wayne? The donor guy? He was terrific. But you get into that guy's ego and you keep feeding it and you keep accepting what they're doing, they're going to keep providing it. And now you have these just extremely rich donors who probably sit around and brag about, well, here's how much I had to give you. Here's how much, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, it's happening so much at the high school level. Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about schools, but I've heard it happens more regionally at high school than we think. You have a lot of offers coming. If you can figure out where the parents live and they want a star athlete to come play football or basketball for their school, usually it's football. The kids are being offered by people around the school that wants them. Here's what we're going to give you to come here and just transfer from high school to high school for 1 year. If you don't think that's happening, sorry. Sorry, you're not part of reality. But that's you're exactly right. It's happening. It's happening. And some places aren't shy about it. John Marshall, we could get Rick Cormany on here. He could talk about that. They were very vocal about it, right? They dominated that level of basketball. They came onto the scene and they were very vocal about the transfers they were getting in and the money that they had around the program. They didn't care. They don't care. And when they were asked directly about it, they said, do you think we're the only ones doing this? Unapologetic. Completely unapologetic about the whole thing. But here's where we are. Here's where we are. As we talk about all this stuff, right? And I work in athletics, and I'm over there yesterday. And I was talking to David Smith about this last night, and we broadcast the women's lacrosse game. It was a good game. Radford and Winthrop ended up winning late. But we had a weather delay. because there was the dreaded lightning showing up 8 miles away. So, of course, you have to send everybody out of the stadium. It's an NCAA protocol thing. So where we play lacrosse is not where we play soccer. So we play at what's called the Student Outdoor Recreational Complex. We call it the SORC. So there's not really a lot of places to go. Winthrop went back to their bus. The officials went back to their cars. And all of our team got underneath. There's a pretty big little canopy and a little holding place where the restrooms are. And there's another room. And they were hanging out around there to get out of you can't be out in the open on the field. And I was just watching those ladies. They brought out a speaker. And they were playing music, and they were singing, and they were dancing, and they were so happy to be on a team playing their sport. And I'm sitting there going, all the stuff we have to deal with. And you're frustrated because you're in a weather delay because the game's being held up. And you don't know how long you might be there. But I was sitting there thinking, this is the remnants of what's left of what it's supposed to be like. You think any of our lacrosse players are making any money? I can tell you right now, that's a no. Not a dime. My program only has 1 or 2 scholarships to even give out every year. But you know why they're on the team? They absolutely love their sport. And they were happy and I was thinking, this is why you keep having some hope that it's going to it won't. But that yesterday was just a reminder. Watching the joy that those young ladies had, just being together, being around their coaches. That was special. That was a special thing. It really was. So it was a little bit of a therapy session yesterday. Just hanging around that team and seeing that. And, I think I needed that. I think I needed that yesterday. It was good. It was good. Crazy thing Thunder says about Blue Chips is it's been redesignated from fiction to current events, correct? It was. It was pure common sense regarding the weather, but not regarding how to run the NCAA. Pure love of the game too, Wayne. Yeah, only dream as a kid. And I used to think about the same thing. You get a scholarship. Hey, I want to go to college. My parents don't have to deal with it, right? They can come and watch me play. I know, man. I'm with you. Never aspirations of, wow, what kind of contract can I sign here today with this group? What's up, Bandar? So, yeah. It's real, and apparently Alex Guerra is not going to join us today. I'm not getting a response. I don't know if he's preoccupied or something else going on. So anyway, we won't be talking Radford baseball today with him, apparently. But Dwight Vick's going to come up, and we're going to see where he wants to take the conversation, but we kind of already pre-discussed it a little bit. Like I said, his son is in the middle of all this. I mean, it's very timely. We're going to learn a lot we're going to learn a lot about the reality of the situation, I think, through Dwight and Isaiah Vick here. So he's going to talk about all that. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into a big – and I've already talked to Dwight. When we do the – BDST pop version, he's going to be on the first show, and we're going to put all this stuff aside and we're going to talk about movies. And that guy, there are times he'll just call me and we'll just start talking about movies. That guy it's unbelievable. He's an encyclopedia of movie trivia. He knows every character. He knows lines that were said. I mean, it's incredible. So you talk about some fun now. We will do that. We will do that. And that'll be a lot of fun. But if you want to watch a movie about the way things were, go watch Blue Chips if you haven't seen it. Why do you think that movie was made? Because things were so prominent. At that time, there were so many schools being put on probation or threatened to be on probation or coming off probation. It was, remember that when that was news? Hey, who's on probation this month? That school's coming off probation. And there would always be this intentional way to make them never lose that. Well, they were cheating. Remember that? They cheated. No, they were doing what everyone was doing. The NCAA just decided to kind of pick on that school. And now you think about, now it makes sense. Why did you ever hear other coaches, and Big Al, correct me if I'm wrong, did you ever hear other coaches at the time openly criticize other coaches when their programs got put on probation? Right? Coaches didn't go around going, well, he's doing that, because they knew they were doing. They were wondering, am I next? Are they going to come find out what we were doing? That's right. People forget that, Wayne. I mean, Tech got into a lot of trouble. At the time, Bruce Smith was the center of their trouble. And today, no one would even give it a second thought. Somebody would write an article on it on one of the Tech websites, and everybody would be talking, oh, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. But looking back on it and what we see now that it's been unveiled to us, you may have had a belief about those coaches and the things they got away with, and boy, they cheated. Now I don't have any, whatever. Doesn't bother me. They know their business better than anybody. You're in a business, you know how your business is supposed to operate. You know the inner workings of your business. You don't think these coaches were just acting in a way that they knew they had to survive? This is before any of the public conversations about it. You know, Morris, I agree with you. And I know the rules of the athletes have changed, which is the big thing we're talking about. But the way it's being run and the money being at the center of it likely hasn't changed. Why do you think through so many generations, certain programs have had sustained success over the years? Nebraska they ran the wishbone, for God's sake, but they had Tom Osborne. How much money do you think was coming in that program from friends of the program? Oklahoma, Notre Dame. I mean, look at all the programs that stayed prominent for so long. Do you think that was always because of just great recruiting? No. They had people buying players. Yeah, I mean, it's always happened. Now today, when I see them, the NCAA try to say, well, this school shouldn't be doing that, or this school violated, or tampering, or just stop. You're going to lose in court. There's not a court in this country that's going to support anything that you do. So you've got no power. The power lies with the commissioners, unfortunately. It should lie with the presidents who look at this thing and realize it needs to be blown up, but they're benefiting from it too. Yeah, you're right. In moments, I get that, Morris. Yeah, you're sitting there watching Tech and Radford play baseball. I get it. You're sitting there and you're watching women's lacrosse yesterday. Yeah. There's reminders. Yeah. The way it was, the way it should be, the way we always, the vision we always had in our heads. I want to thank all of our sponsors once again. We mentioned them several times, but they're the best. Sundown Electric, Professional Door Incorporated, National Bank, member FDIC, the attorney Ryan Pry in Radford, Little River Heating and Air, Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, Louise Baker Team Long and Foster, McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hundley, Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio, the NRV Super Bowl, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, Ready Set Fund, ReadySetFund.com, National Bank, member FDIC. Thank you to everyone. If you know of anybody who would like to jump on board as a sponsor, give us a yell. It has been successful for our sponsors, and it's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. So we thank them, because couldn't do the show without them. And we're all part of the same community, and I'm glad to hear so many people have gotten feedback and gotten business and gotten people that have gone back because of the show, and that means a lot. My NL in Little League was getting a pack of cards for every hit and 2 packs for a home run. Man, there was nothing like going to usually for me, it was the Dublin Pharmacy in Dublin, or going to a gas station to get snacks, and then looking down and seeing a half full box of Topps baseball cards. Packaging always had that year's color, around the pack, but then it had like just the white baseball, and you'd be like, hey, Dad, can I grab a couple of those? The best feeling ever, man. And you'd sit there and you'd have it. And that's when you would actually chew the gum before it got rock hard. Now, of course, it would just break your teeth. It's kind of like, I believe what Panera Bread did was take the recipe of the gum that's been in the packs of the wax packs for 20, 30 years, and that's what they put in their bread yeast. Yeah, they were a quarter with the hard gum. Morris is working out contract negotiations now. Panera Bread bricks and Dave Matthews Band. Yeah, let me know. Morris. Yeah, let's work out the details. Good morning, Chris Lester. How are you? Good to have you. Yeah, Panera gum. Ow, ow, ah. Hey, everybody, I just had a pack of Panera gum. Mm-mm. Oh, well, guess I'm heading to the dentist. That's the good stuff. Dwight Vick's going to join us here, and then we'll talk about more of these things that are going on. But it's a good discussion, man. Good discussion. And I see now he's in the green room. And without further ado, there he is, the quintessential source for all things Tech football and really all things life as a human being. He's Dwight Vick. What's up, brother? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me good? Can you hear me well?
We got you, man. You look great. Let me get the comments off of you. There we go. No, I appreciate you, man. Man, we're jumping around a lot of different topics today. And, you and I were kind of discussing some things last night. Of course, I led off with the situation at Campbell, and this has gotten news. It's still going on this morning, man. People are talking about it. You got a coach basically saying, I'm out of here in college basketball because my university can't fund it. So it's crazy what's going on. It's crazy.
Yeah, interesting thing about it is Campbell is when I saw that, then I actually saw it on Twitter, X, and then I saw it, and I didn't know what to believe yesterday because it was April 1st. So then I saw it on your Facebook page, and I said, "Oh, it's legit. He did leave." But you know what's interesting, man, because their assistants have been in contact with my son. Like they were recruiting Isaiah. So you know, I was like, well, it's a good thing we weren't, you know, taking visits or, you know, with them, or, you know, we were like, oh, okay, we're going to come down. I mean, again, I don't know how that works when the head coach, because he took an assistant job at Louisville, correct?
Correct. He's now the associate head coach, so he's making pretty good coin, and he's in a power league now. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, too, because here's how it works for those wondering. A school, when they're taking you out the portal, most of the kids have representation, an agent or an NIL rep, or a team. You know, my son has a team of people that work on his behalf. They don't really recruit you unless they can afford you. So they have a budget. So I don't want to disrespect his reasoning, but it's not like all these kids. I think the misconception is that all these kids are asking for $2 million, $1 million, 975,000. It's not The Price is Right. Like when, you know, for those old school listeners, when you had the podiums with the numbers and you said, I want to bid 900, 800. It doesn't work that way. You have a range. Your ranking is based on what you qualify for financially, and they know whether or not they can afford you. So they don't pursue you unless they can afford you. But I've never been invested into Campbell Hoops to speak on their budget or their schedule or the stability of their basketball program. I think if a coach is truly burnt out or doesn't like the nature of today's game, they go and do what Tony Bennett does or did and you leave or you step out. You know, so, you know, again, congrats to him. It's just interesting how that works out.
Yeah, and what it also brings is another element to think about what young athletes like your son have to deal with. It's not always, oh, the athlete's so fickle and all this. Here he is. He might have a general interest in a place, and now that whole environment's changed, right? So whatever may have been in your mindset, talking, now you have to go, okay, well, now we have to shift. We have all these other schools that are interested. So look how that changed so quickly, you know, in terms of the options that maybe your son had, right? It's just crazy.
Well, yeah, Zay's got some great interest. He took a visit earlier. What's today? Thursday. He took a visit over the weekend to Northwestern State in Louisiana, and then yesterday he was at Albany. Just got back last night to his campus, and that visit went great. So he's had 2 great visits. He's got possibly more. He's getting a lot of interest from mid-majors. A few for some power fours, but definitely has some options. But, you know, you can only go to one school. Isaiah, and this is just how his mother and I raised him, we're not looking for the bag. You want to get paid. You know, the more money, obviously, it's a great situation. But I think there are a lot more realistic kids than people believe. I think when you look at a program like BYU that paid that one kid allegedly a bunch of millions, you know, that kid is a lottery pick, and that's what his skill set calls for. But a lot of these kids are just getting a good amount of money, but these schools that can't afford them, their AD or SID and everybody involved, they understand that. So they have a budget. And I think, you know, when I look at Isaiah just wants to get to the level that he should have been at from coming out of high school. So some of these kids, I saw the other day, a couple of kids that were really good at VCU are returning to VCU. So everybody's not leaving. When you look at some of these other schools that are losing kids in the portal, just so you know, in talking to a lot of these college head coaches I talk to, many of them are admitting, and not like it's a secret, but I don't think fans always realize that many of these kids are told to go to the portal. Their attitude isn't great. Their work ethic isn't great. They weren't the player they thought they were getting. So it's a balancing of affording a kid, but also recognizing, does this young man or young lady fit our system? And I think that has to be taken into account. I think the way you navigate this is to, when it comes to basketball and football, is to look at a kid. Does he fit our culture, our scheme? And are we going to pay him what he's worth versus overpaying him to beat out a Big Ten school?
Right. Yeah, that's a great point.
I go back to this, Rick. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I go back. No. It still comes down to those factors. You don't have to overpay for a kid because he and his team are like, yo, we're going to need $400,000. And you don't have that, or you don't think that, then let him go. There's a kid. Right. One thing I will say this, and Bruce Pearl talked about this when in his great runs with Auburn recently before he stepped away from coaching. Bruce Pearl often went after kids that were under-recruited and overlooked, D2 kids that were moving up, or kids that were really hungry, that appreciated, hotels and bigger houses. My son, I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this. Last year, he had about 10 D2 full scholarship offers. He flirted with D1s, but D1s didn't pull the trigger. On his recruiting visits, we got treated very well. They were at Fairmont State, UNC Pembroke, Wingate, obviously. A lot of great schools reached out. But on his official visits, there's only so much they can do and give you. Now, on this one, he's got a hotel room by himself, and they're flying him this and this. So for him, coming from the lower level, he's more than gracious and humbled by the experience. He was talking about having a room to himself. Some of these visits, they put us all in one room last summer, because of budgeting and things like that. So some of these kids really do appreciate. Then you have some kids who are like, hey, man, like one of my favorite movies, Blue Chips, with my guy Happy, when Happy found it out.
You love Happy.
Happy found out that Butch McRae, lived in Chicago, and his mom told the coach, I want a job, I want this, I want that. I mean, it is what it is. You have dads, unlike me, that are like, listen, my son, we need a Hellcat. Right. I mean, it's just, that's what they do.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
I mean, but entitlement has always existed since the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
100%. 100%. Happy, I think you and I mentioned this. Isn't Happy one of the most correctly written characters, probably the most accurate written characters we've seen in a sports movie like that?
Yeah.
Right? Those guys are everywhere across the country, every school.
Yeah,
more than one.
Yeah, Happy, that movie, there's a lot of great sports movies, but Blue Chips really embodied, for the people that didn't know, because, I was at that time a high school player and being heavily recruited. But again, my mom and dad were happy I was getting a full scholarship and happy I was going to have a chance to play on the big stage. But I didn't want anything but what they could give me, and most importantly, an opportunity. But the opportunity has changed. I mean, these kids know their worth, they know their brand, and those guys like Happy, listen, not to get, poetic and philosophical, but this is, in my opinion, men like Happy are not just involved heavily in sports. They're involved heavily in corporate America.
Yes.
If you go to a youth football game, I don't care if it's in Southwest Virginia or in Richmond or in Maryland or DC or whatever, there's a neighborhood Happy on the fence talking about who should be playing. Hey, Coach Jim, you want uniforms next year? I own you. Remember Happy said, I own you.
I own you.
He told Nick Nolte, I own you. And then he said, and then he realized that Tony, that was majoring in TV, was the one betting on games. Well, he did the game where he basically finessed it so they would cover the spread.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. Happies are everywhere. You know, by the way, that guy's a great actor. He was in some great films. He was, I think, Niebaum in that movie, The Negotiator.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was.
He's always, you know, some of those guys are great at playing jerks. Some guys and women get typecast.
I know.
And they're great at playing a certain role. He's always been a guy that just has that face to be a a-hole.
Well, I was talking earlier. I said, whatever we do, like the pop culture channel, you're gonna be on the first show because we're gonna let sports go, and this is the kind of stuff we're gonna talk about, these movies, because you're just walking encyclopedia of movie knowledge. It's great. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, movies and music are my music and movies are my therapy. But yeah, man, it's a crazy culture right now. But it is what it is. I mean, some college programs have learned how to navigate it, and some are struggling. And this is what I will say too. I was going back and forth with a fan, not like arguing, because I'm not going to argue with you. But I don't even know if it's a woman or a man, because he had no face or picture. But he was talking about the non-revenue, the Olympic sports struggling. When people talk about this, I don't dismiss the fact that those sports are important. But it always kills me because why don't y'all go and watch softball and baseball? Why don't y'all go watch wrestling? Y'all, the popular sports are football and basketball. We have 9,000 podcast shows and different coverage of football, right? The thing about Virginia Tech football that I find amazing, they're over 14 podcast shows about a team that can't win 5 games is amazing to me. I mean, think about how many shows we have covering a team that can't win 6 games.
That are just Tech football. Yeah,
just Tech. I mean, you got UVA, Maryland, there's other programs, but I always said if Tech ever started getting back to the days of dominating college football, it's going to be great because we have the coverage, we have the fan base. I just find it amazing because down the street, you'll have a nationally ranked softball team, a golf team, a wrestling team, but we don't have the same coverage. We don't show up the same, but then we say, oh man, NIL is taken away from those. You don't even go to those games. you don't even go to the games. So be consistent with your efforts.
That's true. They could donate to those programs, couldn't they?
They sure could.
It's their dollars, absolutely.
Yeah, I got my oldest daughter who is cut from my claws. She is me when we're very outspoken and we're very insightful. And she's going to be a licensed psychologist like me. She's going to go into psychology.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, she graduates from ODU in May, and then she's going to go on to grad school. She applied to Radford and got in. She applied to Tech. She's still waiting to hear back, ODU and some other in-state schools. But she was talking about fairness with the athletes and how much money they make. And then she was talking about some of the other smaller sports programs. And I said to her, and she laughed and said, okay, you got me. Because I said, well, do you even go to the women's games at ODU? And she was like, well, I've been meaning to go. I said, well, hold on. You're not even, you can't talk about fairness when as a student, you're not even supporting the other sports. So I'm not, for those in the comments, I'm not judging people's efforts. I'm saying that it takes a collective effort to make sure these other programs survive and sustain the new era. You look at Maryland, when they left the ACC to go to the Big Ten, Under Armour helped buy them out and get them into the Big Ten because Maryland, the people from Under Armour are Maryland Terp grads, the founders of Under Armour, right? But the thing about it is that Maryland, in order to survive, because they weren't making a lot of money with their non-revenue sports, they weren't able, and football is not their calling card, it's basketball. Well, the reality is that they got rid of a lot of Olympic sports to be able to go to the Big Ten and get part of that Big Ten revenue sharing. Now, with that being said, with football, before they went into the Big Ten, this is when they were in the ACC, when Virginia Tech was really, really good, Florida State was good, Miami. Maryland students weren't going to the football games. I live in the DMV. Maryland students were complaining about games starting on Saturdays at 12 o'clock. They were talking about this. I remember when Virginia Tech would go to Byrd Stadium and take over their stadium. So you talk about revenue and money. A lot of it starts with culture and having student support, community support. One underrated factor with Virginia Tech, while Virginia Tech over decades has been able to sustain even mediocrity and underachieving, is the fact that Southwest Virginia is the foundation of Virginia Tech. So the community around Virginia Tech continues to support it. The Radfords, the Floyd County, Roanoke, Christiansburg. People don't look at that. Your college towns, the town has to be married to the sports programs. Yes, NIL is a big factor in collectives that donate and pay, but your communities have to understand this is part of our community. If Southwest Virginia didn't support Virginia Tech, you would have a bigger problem, because most of the fans that come to football and basketball games are from that community. The rest are casual fans or parents or family members of the players. The majority of those other people are community members, but people don't look at that. Maryland is in a very metropolitan area. It's a transient area, so a lot of people could care less about college sports up here in the DC area.
Right,
This is a pro sports area.
Like in like Boston College, we always talk about how Bill Roth always talks about how you find the write-up of the Boston College football game on page 9.
Yeah.
Because they've got too many other things going on with pro sports teams. So it's not even in the forethought of anybody up there.
Yeah, and community support is huge. It's the same thing in other places where they're not like, look, respectfully, even though they had a phenomenal year last season, Miami Hurricanes, when they left the Orange Bowl and went to, it's changed so many, I don't know, pro players, whatever it's called now, that's an NFL stadium. And they're in the NFL NBA town. So Miami, I've always joked about their fans being front runners. The Miami Hurricanes have a great fan base, but at the same time, they're in competition with a lot of other teams, the Miami Heat, the baseball team, the football team, the Dolphins. It's very hard. Where Virginia Tech's in the prime location. You can criticize Southwest Virginia for being tucked away in the mountains, but that community is a big part of why it's successful. And it's a big reason why you're able to maintain and transition into this new era of collegiate sports.
But as you said it, sounds like it. So Isaiah's having a very positive experience, though, right? He's just enjoying this project, which I like to hear. He deserves that. So that's cool that the whole thing is keeping him upbeat and happy. So.
I think it always starts at home. I think you have parents like myself and my wife who understand that you're still going to get an education. Like even when we was coordinating visits, I was like, hey, make sure you talk to your psychology and English professors to make sure they know, email them, you're going to be on a flight, you're going to be traveling, but go meet with them during their office hours to make sure you're staying at the top of your schoolwork. Isaiah's, he's a Vic, so that's going to turn heads, but he's also a very, very good basketball player. But he also understands that wherever I go, I'm going to play a great schedule. Like, say he goes to Radford, the Big South is a great conference. It's a great opportunity to play at a high level, at the highest level in collegiate sports. So his experience is good because his team is they're not asking for ridiculous amount of money for a kid that, as good as he was last year, has to prove himself at this next level. And I think that's what has to be done. You don't really have to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel with this stuff. I just think ADs and college coaches have to realize if we can't afford this player, we're not going to overpay for him unless we really feel like he's a once-in-a-lifetime player. And again, I'm being repetitive a little bit, but many of these kids are not making the money fans think they are. I think some of the programs that are struggling to tread above water, financial water, are the programs that keep losing players they're investing in when they should have never invested in that player in the first place, right? I mean, I just think, look, and I know I keep up with Tech basketball. I know they lost a young guard. They lost a Big Country, the guy from up here where I'm at in Paul VI, the big man. But I don't think some of this is about NIL. It's not about I think, what's the future of Virginia Tech basketball look like? Can anybody really answer that question?
No. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, right now, Virginia Tech football, even though it's early, you got a good feeling that Franklin's going to be there. So one thing I look at with my son is when we take visits and we're talking to some of these programs, if I'm not as familiar, the first thing I do is I get on my phone or my laptop and I look at their record, how long the coach has been there, stability, culture, location. You can go to a school and whatever and get the bag and go play, but that coach may not be there. So sustainability works both ways. Is this player reliable? Is this coach going to be there? So some of this is not just kids moving because they're disgruntled. Some of these kids are going and getting the bag and going to a better situation. Some of them are being told to leave, and some of them also don't know if the coach is going to be there. I mean, think about the players at Campbell who decided to return. Think about the players that said, hey, coach, when they did their exit meetings at the end of the season, I'm coming back, coach. Here's my, I'm going to keep this. So can we go up 10,000? Can we go up 15,000? Sure, we'll get back to you. And then you're like, wait a minute, yo, coach just sent us in the group chat, Louisville, he's leaving? Now I got to jump in the portal unexpectedly because I don't know who the coach is going to be. This happens at D1, D2, and D3.
Have you been able to, I mean, with what you know about people, have you been able to decipher which coaches are kind of just feeding you lines and ones that you really think are being upfront? I mean, how long does that take as a parent to go through that? You had to go through it when you were being recruited, obviously, to play, but now you're going through it with your son as well.
Hey, Rick, not long at all. I'm a veteran in this business, man. Hey,
I figured.
What did Denzel say in Training Day? Jake, I'm surgical with this. Listen, I can tell right away. I can tell in the conversation, and when I look them in the eye when I'm on a visit or when I'm talking to them, I can tell who's really scouting my son. I can tell who really wants him versus just conversating because it sounds rehearsed. And the great thing about my son's team is the VP of his agency is Kevin Nickelberry. Kevin Nickelberry coached at LSU. He was the head coach there, or assistant. He coached at LSU, Howard, Hampton, and also Florida State. So he coached alongside Leonard Hamilton. So he's been very well connected for over 30 years. He knows a lot of these guys in the business. So they talk to him before they talk to our family, and we kind of filter out the BS. But even when I'm talking to a head coach or an assistant, I can tell if they genuinely want, and my son last year went on 7 or 8 visits because, again, back in my day, you can only take 5 visits. Now it's unlimited, which I think is right. Some of these kids milk it, but you do need to get a comparison and make sure the school fits your culture and what you want academically and athletically. But I can tell, man, you could tell, because I've caught last year, I caught a coach in a lie. He said, we wanted, because you do Zooms before you go down to the school.
Sure.
And the guy last year said, Isaiah, you're the first kid I'm offering. You're the first kid I'm offering right now. And this is how bad we want you. We're offering you a full ride. And I'm laughing because before we got on the call, one of his teammates had just gotten the offer from the same school. So I'm like, like, it's just, dudes, just be honest, man.
Oops.
Like, I'd rather coach say, hey, we like you a lot, but you weren't our first choice. That's cool. I've had coaches say to people, his high school or prep coach or his agent, we like him, but we don't know if he's worth this much, or we don't know. We got another. That's fine. It's a business, and it's okay. You're not going to hurt our feelings. I just rather you be honest. But I can tell when he's, and Silas Demery Jr., his dad and I are close friends. We were teammates, the starting point guard for UConn. He played 2 seasons at Georgia. He told me, we're good friends. He said, you just have to sometimes choose a school where the coach lies the least.
That's true. That's a great point.
Because we talk about players line, coaches, not all, because I've met some great men in this business. I mean, the Millersville coach is a stand-up guy. Last year, I had a chance to meet with him, and he's just been nothing but class. Some of these guys really do follow your career, even if you don't choose them, and pray for you and wish you well. But some of these guys, man, they're corny. Some of them are just, they just say stuff because they don't know how to be authentic. One of the best things we can have as a person is to be authentic, to be like, hey, I'm not a big fan of this, or I didn't think I did this well, or I don't think this is going to work out for me, or that's fine. I think if we just start being more authentic, it could be a better situation in which people know what the direction that we're going to go in, like, or we know what we're going to have or what we're going to do. Like, you work in media, Rick. I do as well, but you watch pressers all the time, and you'll text me, you'll talk to your son, you'll talk to other people, and be like, why are they up there lying? Like why? I'll just like with Tech football, I did post game pressers when I did the pregame show for a year. It's right around the time Beamer was like a year or two away from leaving Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
not saying Beamer lied, but I know when we had Scott Leffler was on there, different people would come to the podium. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I played. I know this is not true.
Right.
Like you're not playing this kid because you're paying him more, or you're friends with his dad, or that high school coach called you last week and cursed you out. That's why you're not playing the other kid.
Right.
And that's what my issue last year and the year before with Pride is that there were players that were better that should have been getting touches, but there was a conflict of interest, maybe because of NIL payments or relationships, where honestly, that's where NIL to me is a bigger problem, because one coach told Isaiah, if you commit here, just because I pay you this much money does not mean you're going to play. I almost screamed, hallelujah. Don't pay him or play him because you're paying him this much money.
Like that, exactly.
We love it. Earn it. That's where I think NIL comes in, because some coaches feel guilty. F that.
100%.
Play the right player. Accountability can't be hidden. It has to be play the right player and stop all this finessing and we're giving him this much. No, this backup that's younger, a redshirt sophomore, is better than a senior. Play the sophomore.
Right. Real quick, is there a time frame that you have, or are you just letting the process play out? Is Isaiah does he want to have like a week or two, or what are we looking at in terms of a time frame, or do you still need to see what has to develop?
No. He's had 2 great visits. One thing about Zay, he'll tell you, I can only go to one school. I'm not trying to drag this out. However, he did talk to his team last night while he was in Dulles Airport, waiting on his connecting flight to go back to Charlotte. There's a lot of schools really interested and wants him, but again, we're not going to drag this out. And that's me talking as his dad as well as himself. The dead period's coming up this week, and then the Final Four. And then after that, you're going to see even more movement on the D1 level. But we might take one more visit or do maybe a couple more Zooms. But he looked those coaches in their eye and he said, I'm not going to drag this out because that's unfair to you, because you have to get somebody in case I don't come here. So we're not trying to drag it out, man. Like, I'm thankful to God that he's in this position, that he's healthy, that he's done all the right things. I've told you before, man. I told you when he was coming out of Fort Union, whoever gets my son is getting a great person and a great player. And he proved me right at Wingate, where he was second in player of the year for the freshman voting. He was on the all-freshman team, and he broke a freshman scoring record. And it's a kid that was 19, giving guys 24, 23 years old buckets. He was one of the top players in the conference. One coach said that he interviewed and spoke with Lincoln Memorial and 2 other schools in their conference, 3 coaches, and they all said that Isaiah was a can't-miss prospect. So he's earned it character-wise. I thank Wingate for everything they've done because they saw what I saw in Isaiah. But I have no doubt that even if Isaiah was to go to Virginia Tech, I would be saying the same thing. I think my son can play because he's a new school kid with an old school mindset. So
and that's rare.
He still values hard work. He still values running stadium steps, getting up early, running a mile, putting the weighted vest on. He still values, hey, I want to win. I don't want commercials. That's cool. Like, I'm not knocking the Boozer twins, but that comes because those kids put in work. But if you ask Isaiah, he wants to win. He wants to play in the tournament and see his video, his face on that one shot at moment video. He wants to. He's always. I used to let him stay up late when he was a kid to watch that. Yeah, so that's what we want, man. And I do thank y'all for all the people that I know he's not a Hokie or he's not at Radford, but he's got a lot of fans that know me and our family that show him love on Twitter and Instagram. So I really do appreciate that because he's not on your favorite team, but you recognize his talent. So we're grateful for that, Rick, and I appreciate you always checking in about him, man.
Yeah, it's great, man. I can't wait to find out where his destination, where his journey concludes here this year. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, the crazy thing about life, I know we got to wrap up, but the crazy thing about life is wherever he goes, God and life have a way of working things out. Sports is the best reality TV show. So it could be one day where he's playing on a team against a team that you and I cover. So you never know how that works out.
I know. It'll be cool. Yeah. We'll go up and ask for an interview. Hey, Zach, come here and talk to me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, listen. Yeah, good luck with all that. I hope he continues to have a great time on his journey, and we'll talk to you again next week, man. Great stuff as always. And I've been telling people, go watch Blue Chips. You want to find out how things were going and how things are, just go watch Blue Chips.
Yep, happy. Yeah, Happy and Nick Nolte and all those guys. Yes, sir.
It's the way it
is. The guilt Nick had after they beat Indiana, which is number one in the nation, was overwhelming him because he didn't do things the right. That's my favorite part of that movie is the internal struggle he has.
I know.
With looking at himself in the mirror. Yeah. Yeah.
And with all the coaches they had contributing to that movie, they probably gave him that part of that character. Look, we did all this, but deep down it was killing us because we knew we had to do it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Have a great day. Appreciate you.
You too. Thank you.
All right, man. All right. Great stuff from Dwight Vick. And best of luck to Isaiah. Thanks to you, everybody. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Tomorrow, the finally Friday edition of the program. Take care. Thanks to chat. Please subscribe, like, and share the channel. We'll see you tomorrow, the finally Friday edition. Be good.